Thanks for joining us today. We're glad you're able to make some time to learn a little bit more about our INtuition-STEM project, an NSF S-STEM Research Hub that's based at Temple University, and we're working to investigate non-tuition needs of community college students in STEM. I think we have a small group today, and I know we have a lot of folks who registered who are probably just hoping to get the recording. I know how hard it is to make time to see something live sometimes these days, but we'd love to know who you are and where you're from. If you want to just take a moment and kind of let us know where you're joining from, or what institution you're at. I think we can put it in the chat, or you can come off mute and introduce yourself.
I'll start us off.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Philip Vargas. I'm a professor at Harold Washington College. It is one of the 7 city colleges of Chicago. I teach in the physical science department, primarily, initially physics and engineering, but I'm teaching more astronomy and general physical science. For some reason, I'm just qualified to teach anything physical science related at a 2-year college. And then I am now starting the 6th year of our Track 2 S-STEM program. We just got our no-cost extension since we did not have as many applicants as we initially planned, especially due to COVID and a whole host of other things that if you're ever interested in, we can talk about.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us today. We were just talking with some folks from Chicago City Colleges yesterday. And Reginald joining us from Hostos Community College in the Bronx. Well, we'll go into our team introductions in just a minute, but for a quick overview of how we're hoping to spend our time today. We'll do some introductions. We'll provide some context about the Hope Center and about STEM students' basic needs. We'll share some information about our project and the project overview and our vision for where we're going and what we're hoping to do. Review the project activities and timeline, and then leave some time for you to ask and answer any questions and any other type of conversation that works for us. So I can start since I'm talking. I'm Leanne Davis. I'm a Senior Director of Education and Training at the Hope Center, one of the co-PIs on the project, and I really kind of help lead all of our project activities, think about the way that we engage, how we engage with our institutional partners, and also how we engage with the kind of broader field and with now advancing the national conversation on addressing non-tuition barriers for students in STEM. I'll turn it over to my colleague, Jamie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie Payton. I am a faculty member and the department chair for the Department of Computer and Information Sciences at Temple University. And I'm a co-PI on this INtuition-STEM Research Hub Award. I'm also an S-STEM PI. So Philip, you were talking about recruiting challenges. I hear you. I get it. I'm encountering some of the same struggles. So in addition to what we learned specifically about supporting low-income students through this research hub, I hope it's also a good sort of place and space where we can share the challenges that we're encountering and some best practices and lessons that we've learned. So it's good to connect with you. And I'll turn it over to Stacy.
Thank you, Jamie. It's great to be with you all. I am Stacy Perniski. I'm an assistant research professor and senior evaluation associate at the Hope Center at Temple. I'm a co-PI on this grant. And at the Hope Center, I coordinate a lot of our survey data collection. So one of the things you'll hear about today, which you may be familiar with already, is our Student Basic Needs Survey. And that is one of my main roles at the center, is coordinating data collection for that survey. I'll also just share, one of our colleagues is not able to join us today, Jennifer Johnson, but she's an assistant professor of policy, organizational, and leadership studies at Temple in our College of Education. And she has a wealth of expertise in higher education and in particular equity issues in higher education. And then I'll turn it over to Namrata.
I actually think I didn't update the slide. I think Jennifer's actually been promoted and is an associate professor now. So,
oh gosh, thank you for catching
Jennifer,
that.
if you're watching this, we're celebrating you and congratulations. I just caught that in an email signature.
Thank you for catching that, Leanne.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Namrata Patel, and I'm from Research for Social Impact. I serve as the external evaluator on this grant, and I'm based out of California. Nice to meet you.
Great, thanks, everyone. So we'll talk a little bit about the Hope Center, where a lot of this project is housed. We're an action research center, and we're in the Lewis Katz School of Medicine at Temple University. And we're a collaborative team of researchers, advocates, policy advisors, and storytellers who really work to kind of envision and contribute to a world where basic needs and security is no longer going to be a barrier to students being able to pursue and complete college. We take a systems change approach in our work and are really working to rebuild a higher education landscape where opportunity in education is both equitable and universal. We're a team of about 17 people. Like I said, I love working here because we're able to sit right at the nexus of research, policy, and practice. So while this research hub is absolutely, we have a set of research questions that we will dive into and that we're hoping to answer. We work with hundreds of institutions across the country. So whatever we learn from the work that we're doing here, we're able to turn to our practice team and share with practitioners and help them implement best practices to support students' basic needs, particularly low-income students in STEM pathways. But then we're also able to kind of really dig into the kind of policy interactions and policy impacts of this work and advocate for changes to state and federal policy that are going to better serve students. Here's some fast, kind of our fast facts on student basic needs and security from the Hope Center. We've seen in our surveys that 3 in 5 students experience basic needs and security while in college. And nearly half of students who respond to our surveys report experiencing some form of housing insecurity. And we've also found that, over half of students who report experiencing basic needs and security did not apply for any type of support because they didn't know how. So these are the types of issues that we learn about and we work to address through our work with institutions at Hope. I'll also note that you may have heard, if this is something that's interesting to you or if you're paying attention to federal educational data, that NSF 20 was recently released and had provided, for the first time, provided a nationally representative kind of sample that included measures of food and housing and security. And while the NSF data were not as high, didn't show as much prevalence in food and housing insecurity as our survey respondents do, I think it's still a statement that housing and food insecurity is real and college students are experiencing that, and it's something that we need to work to address. And then if we look at STEM community college students, the numbers are actually really similar. Stacy, do you want to talk about this one since you've kind of led our survey administration this spring?
Yeah, absolutely. So in addition to assessing the prevalence of various types of basic needs with our surveys, we also collect data about the academic impact of basic needs and security. So what we're showing on the screen here are examples of what we heard from community college STEM students about how the lack of basic needs access creates barriers for them in their education. So for example, among parenting students, 20% of community college STEM students who are parents missed class due to issues related to childcare access. 13% of STEM students missed assignments due to internet or technology access issues. 21% were late to class or to work due to transportation access issues. And 38% of community college STEM students told us that emotional or mental difficulties were having an impact on their academic performance. So we know that basic needs and security isn't just a personal issue, it's an academic issue as well. And we really work on our survey to give a comprehensive view, not only of the different types of needs that students might be facing, but also the ways that barriers to accessing basic needs impact them both personally and academically. And on the next slide, I'll just show you, I always think that students are the best experts on their own experiences and tell their stories better than I. So I always try to share some of their own words with folks. So one of the things we ask on our survey is what the world needs to know about what it's like to be a college student. And these are just a few examples. So students tell us that they're really working hard to better themselves, that they could use all the help and support that they could get. The stress is so real and has a legitimate impact on their mental health. I'm pretty confident all of you that work with students have heard these kinds of things before. I think that folks need to know that there are so many resources available in community colleges that need to be taken advantage of. I also think community colleges need to do a better job at promoting them, because I was once a homeless college student and had no idea what kinds of resources I had access to that could have changed my life. It's a difficult thing to balance, but the reward is great, and the right college can make things easier. And it's really testimonies like these that we hear from students that motivate the work that we're hoping to engage in with you all. Leanne, you're muted, but I'd love to kick it back to you.
Thank you. That brings us back to our research hub. So the National Science Foundation has awarded grants to a number of S-STEM research hubs, and I believe some more might be about to be announced soon. Each of these is organized around just a special interest. And the goal is to foster a network of stakeholders and further develop the infrastructure that we need to be able to generate and disseminate new knowledge about successful practices and design principles that arise from all of these projects nationwide. So we're really excited about our ability to both work in collaboration with the research partners who are in our hub, but also to think about kind of what we're learning as a group. And again, I mentioned this earlier about how we can both contribute to the national conversation, but what can we also share with the National Science Foundation about, ways that they may be able to better support students through their S-STEM grants. So our INtuition-STEM Research Hub, we're hoping to work with up to 10 community colleges who have S-STEM programs. And then we're also working to support a broader network of a broader community of colleges that are just interested in supporting STEM students in general. So we're going to build on, through the work in our hub, we're kind of building on the work that the Hope Center has led over a number of years, including our current work through the Hope Impact Partnerships, where we work with colleges to foster a basic needs ecosystem through assessing students' basic needs, like food, housing, access to technology and transportation, or childcare, and institutional capacity, assessing institutional capacity, and then providing support to analyze, plan, and take action to improve students' basic needs, security, and well-being. We have 3 big picture goals that we shared with the National Science Foundation that we are working to answer through a set of research questions. We plan to reveal challenges that community college STEM students face when it comes to covering their non-tuition expenses through piloting interventions. In the later years of our project, we want to identify points for effective intervention to support community college STEM success. And then in later years, we'll pilot several interventions to assess the impact and whether they're impactful in supporting STEM students to greater levels of success. Stacy or Jamie, I'd love to turn it back over to you to talk about our research questions.
The disadvantage of being on Zoom is that I can't thumb wrestle Jamie for the right to present these questions. So I'm just gonna say that I won the thumb wrestling. We have 3 main research questions that we're working to address through this hub. The first being, what are STEM community college students' specific challenges when it comes to addressing non-tuition expenses? What are their work patterns? What are their family financial obligations? How do they interact with financial aid? Just as some examples. We're also working to identify practices and programs that are available to STEM community college students and the extent to which those programs are utilized. And then we're going to take all of that knowledge and work with partners who are interested in examining interventions to really look into what low-cost interventions can help us to better connect STEM community college students to the supports that are available to them in order to address those needs that we identify. So we're really working through that whole research to practice pipeline, identifying students' needs, assessing what practices are available, what programs are available, and then working on interventions to link students back to those programs. There are 2 different ways that we're looking for partners to participate in our hub activities. The first is engaging with community colleges who have STEM programs to join a multi-year research project, depending on your capacity. Institutions that are selected for this partnership will receive $10,000 to support their research activities. We're also looking, like Leanne said, to build a broader community around community colleges that are really dedicated to supporting STEM students' basic needs. So we'll be inviting schools beyond just those that are part of our research to participate in online convenings, to receive newsletters and resources that are created by the hub's work. And of course, participation in that community will be free to any community colleges that are interested. So really working to make sure that the work that we're doing as a hub is being disseminated really broadly so that all community colleges and any STEM programs can benefit from the knowledge that we're generating together. Cost broadly construed for our research partners, participation is free, but we do want to recognize there are all different kinds of costs involved in a research project. We really aim to make sure that the time commitment is modest. So a typical institution will be devoting no more than 10 staff hours per semester to participate in this first year. And then any colleges that are interested in continuing their participation to test interventions with us will make sure that those next couple of years are also a modest investment time-wise. Leanne, I'm going to kick it back to you in case you have additional comments on that or to do the next slide.
I was just going to go straight into the kind of the activities of the Research Hub, and I think we'll have a chance to pause for questions. So we, we'll have kind of a number of activities that we are expecting our research partners to participate in and to engage with the rest of our Research Hub and our broader network. So one of those is attending 2 to 3 virtual hub meetings per year. Again, we want these to be a really great, valuable use of your time. We had our first an early meeting with our early hub research partners in June, and it was just came away from that. So again, like excited about this project and about what we're hoping to do with this project and the work that we're engaging in together, and found that it was a great space for us to not only talk about our work, but to talk about some challenges that we're experiencing on each of our campuses, and to figure out some kind of ideate on some ways that we can all work together, and how we might be able to, leverage other kind of opportunities or places where we might be in the same space, to continue to have this conversation and advance this work. So for these interactive, engaging hub meetings, we do ask that you bring a team of folks with you. That's just so that we can engage in, have some time to engage in maybe facilitated activities where we're pairing teams together to work together, or we're in small group discussions and breakouts. The other research activities, research and assessment activities, are kind of fielding the Hope Center Student Basic Needs Survey to all enrolled students, ideally in fall of 2023, complete an institutional assessment activity, and then pull your institutional data twice. Stacy, do you have anything you want to add to that, since you've been coordinating the survey effort?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just highlight the Student Basic Needs Survey. It's going to allow us, like I said, to look at prevalence of different types of basic needs, the types of supports that students are accessing, the ways that basic needs insecurity or inability to access supports impacts them personally and academically. And we're looking to pair that with institutional data to take a deeper dive to understand students' experiences. So that institutional data is going to allow us to connect basic needs data to things like financial aid data, to student characteristics and demographics. And we're going to be pulling it twice, so we can not only look at students' characteristics at the time of taking the survey, but also somewhat at academic outcomes in the semesters that follow taking the survey. We're really excited about this opportunity to link multiple data sources. This is something new for us as a team, to be able to link data in this way, that we're really excited about, that we just haven't linked this particular survey to institutional data before. And the institutional assessment activity is really intended to pair nicely with that. So that's something that's completed by administrators or folks that are working with students at your institution, to get sort of an inventory, a sense of what types of supports are available to students. So we're getting a really round picture from student survey data and institutional data, and then service providers' understanding of what's available to students, really helping to bring multiple sources of information together to serve students better.
Thanks, Stacy. And what our partners who've both just fielded the survey and who have completed the institutional assessment activity, we've worked with some of our partners in the Hope Impact partnerships to do that already this year. And they found it really helpful in being able to have a place where there's a common shared understanding of exactly what is happening on their campus and all of the multitude of programs and services available to support students' basic needs, but also to identify where there might be gaps in what students are experiencing or accessing compared to what they're offering. And so we can also work with you to kind of do some of that deeper work on your campus and really figure out some ways to close those gaps and to implement some best practices when it comes to student basic needs programming and institutional policies. The other piece of this is a qualitative piece, and we ask that our research partners help us in allowing for the conduct of both interviews and or focus groups with staff, faculty, and students during the 2023-24 academic year. This is really we're excited about the qualitative data and about these interviews and focus groups, and being able to kind of dig a little bit deeper into really hearing directly from students what they're experiencing, and to to learn from faculty and staff as well. I'm wondering if we've given you a lot of information about the hub, if it's a great place for us to stop and pause and ask if you have any questions so far.
Sure. So I guess so for the S-STEM students, would this just be for the students who have been kind of enrolled in the S-STEM program, or would this be just kind of any STEM student at the institution?
Are you talking specifically about STEM students that are listed on this slide as
Yes.
participants
Yeah.
in the meetings?
Mhm.
Yeah, so we would love to have students that are part of your STEM program to attend the meetings, but the spirit of this is really just bringing together a broad range of stakeholders. And so if there are other STEM students that you think would be a really good fit for these kinds of meetings, we can definitely have a discussion about that. The spirit of the thing is just to bring in and make sure that we're honoring students' perspectives. And so it could be that STEM students are best positioned for this particular STEM hub to participate in that conversation, but we certainly wouldn't want to exclude other students that you think might be interested.
Okay. And then you're saying that so for kind of those meetings that it should be kind of a group of individuals, did you kind of have an idea of the size of that group? Is it a half a dozen or 10 or 20? Look, because I'm seeing 5 bullet points, which can involve multiple people for each of those bullet points.
I think, our goal is that we would like to see each of, our suggestion is that we would want to see each of these areas represented on the team or at the meeting. So we know that often you may not need 3 people from academic affairs, but perhaps 3 people from academic affairs want to join, and we could accommodate that. You may only have 1 person available from institutional research, or that person may have multiple roles at your institution. So these are the types of roles, though, that we would suggest be represented in the hub meetings to be part of your team. And this really, we added in the S-STEM project lead, obviously, because this is an S-STEM research hub and because of the type of work we're doing. But these are kind of normally the suggestions that we would use when we're working with institutions and suggesting they start building a basic needs task force.
Okay, and then for kind of the assessment, is that again kind of geared toward all the STEM students at the college or institution, or
the
just
institutional assessment
Yeah.
activity? That's actually something that would be completed by practitioners or usually student affairs, student services professionals, because it's really an inventory of basic needs programs and services in your institution. So it's from the practitioner perspective and what's available at your institution.
Okay. I thought that was more of a survey toward students. Okay.
The student basic needs survey is geared toward all students. And so we're asking that survey be distributed to all enrolled students at your institution. And we will have, we do have questions in this survey about whether a student is in a STEM pathway, are they in an S-STEM program, but we'll also be able to answer that question through pairing with institutional data.
Okay. Yeah, that's most of my questions, I think.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I was just going to say for Philip, your question about how many people should attend the meetings. I think it's great as we're getting started to have your core team attend. And then what you might find is that as there are tasks and data being fed back to you, you'll see the agenda posted and you'll probably have a better idea of who and how many people from your team and in what roles would want to attend.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm just so the city colleges, so all faculty members are part of a union. So as part of the union, there's very specific pays that we have to supply. So if it gets too large and I'm starting to numbers can get really high really quick. So at $10,000, you'd be surprised how quickly that can get burned through with special assignments if I have a large amount of people. Yes, so it's
Really great
one of those
point.
things I'm just being cognizant of with the S-STEM grant that I'm running already. And there's a
absolutely.
there's a lot of
Thanks
rules I
for
have to
raising
follow.
this. But we're a fan of unions too. So it's a great point, and we would definitely work with you on that, because we don't want it to be something that becomes overburdensome or is kind of really blowing through what $10,000 would kind of cover at your institution.
Yeah, the trick is just to kind of always make it somewhat competitive, because if it's a lot of work and someone's like, well, I can just teach an overtime class and get paid a lot more for that. So it's a balancing act that I've been working on.
Yeah, and we're really working to just facilitate conversations that are going to bring folks that are already doing this kind of work from across the campus together in a way that's going to really complement the work that you're all trying to achieve, maybe in separate spheres, and just give you a forum to come together and have that conversation. So we're not looking to add a lot of work to anyone's workload, just to bring some folks together and give them a space to have that conversation as a group and in community with other institutions that are engaged in the same work. So I just want to review quickly what some of the benefits are that we're hoping to provide for our research partners. As was mentioned, you'll receive $10,000 in support for your participation, as well as access to our Hope Impact Partnerships activities and resources. So really looking to provide all of the resources and information from the Hope Center, so that you can really leverage and get the most out of your partnership with the Hope Center. You'll obviously have opportunities to learn from the data that are collected from your students with that student survey, and about your institution with that institutional assessment and inventory of available services on your campus. We also have a data dashboard that you'll get access to. So for the student survey, you'd be able to look at data summarized from your campus, see some nice graphs that you can use to disseminate that information, to use in grant proposals, etc. You'll be able to compare your data to other types of institutions. So for example, you'd compare your college to other two-year institutions that have completed our survey. And you can also drill down within the data. So to look at students on your campus as a function of gender or race, ethnicity, Pell recipient status, parent status, those kinds of things. So really looking to give you an interactive tool that you can really easily work with the data that you'll be collecting from your students. You'll also be able to gain insights into students' lived experiences and institutional opportunities and strengths through our interviews and focus groups, where we're, really looking to get that deep dive, that narrative perspective, and really understand from both the student and institutional perspective what the basic needs ecosystem looks like on your campus. You'll have opportunities to examine recommendations based on the data collected from you and from your peers. And as we've been discussing, that chance to belong to a community of institutions that are really dedicated to supporting STEM student success, and those opportunities to convene as groups to work together through shared challenges and to learn from insights that each of you have. We know you all have a wealth of knowledge about your students and how to best support them, and we're just looking to foster those connections.
Great. So another way to tell you, because if we're asking you to do things, and we think it's important to say up front what our commitments are, and also what we're providing. So we will convene, just plan, organize, bring everyone together to at least 2 virtual cohort meetings per year. We're really, really excited about these. We will provide the survey and the assessments. We're going to provide access to our data dashboard and some training on how to use that. And Stacy, I just realized that we kind of cover that at all. And maybe that's something that we can send in follow up. So the Hope Center has built a data dashboard that we make available to all of our institutional partners who are fielding our survey. And so it's just one of the ways that we're sharing survey data back with you, and you're going to be able to access, at least in aggregate, students' responses to the survey, be able to drill down into different subgroups and comparisons. And we have a downloadable report that comes from that, and we have a whole, just provides visualizations to really make it ease the burden on how you're able to explain and share and tell the story of students on your campus and what they're experiencing when it comes to their basic needs. And as part of that, we also have a set of learning modules, which are really just a set of kind of videos and a toolkit that help you kind of understand, provide some resources that you can share with other staff and faculty on your campus to really just help make the case and set the foundation for why meeting students' basic needs is an essential component to their learning and to their success. So we're excited about those tools, and there's something that we'll be able to provide to all of you as well if you're a research partner in our hub. We will also prepare 2 institution-specific reports as we are answering our research questions, and we'll provide access to a whole set of other resources to support your institution's broader work to support students' basic needs. So like I said, through the Hope Center and through the Hope Impact partnerships, we lead a large-scale technical assistance effort where we're working with institutions across the country to, again, help them understand, assess, analyze, support, plan how they're going to better serve students and by meeting their basic needs. And through that, we provide we kind of lead a learning community that meets regularly. We provide informational sessions on the latest policy, practice, and research, guides for things like what are some federal grant opportunities that your institution might not be aware of, and how would you go about applying to these federal grant opportunities that are related specifically to meeting students' basic needs. So we'll be able to provide all of that support, as well as opportunities for your institution to engage in legislative efforts, whether that's sign-on letters. If students' basic needs is an important part of your institutional priorities, or is important to senior leaders on your campus, or to your maybe your government relations team or advocacy folks, we can find opportunities to engage both in state and federal policy and advocacy too. And then really important, the timeline. So we already have about half of our, we have, I think, 5 institutions who are committed.
Leanne, you just went mute. We lost you. Let me see if I can.
Let's see, how's that?
There we go.
Okay, I'm gonna blame it. I bet somebody turned on technology somewhere else in my house and my AirPods connected to that device. It's probably exactly what happened. If someone could help me find a solution to that, it would be great. So we are, like I said, we have, I think, 5 institutions who have already joined our research hub, and we're kind of looking for a few more partners who are interested in joining us. We'll spend this month of August working out kind of agreements and the necessary paperwork and what that looks like. September and October are survey fielding. October and November into December, probably working on the inventory activity. February, we will have our next virtual hub convening, and in March, we're planning to do focus groups and interviews. And we mentioned 2 data pools, and those will be at the end of fall and spring. I thought I'd pause for the next moment to see if there are any other questions that you have, or if any of my other team members have something that they'd like to share. I will voluntarily go on mute.
There's a question in the chat from Reginald who says, how can my college join the hub?
This is a great question. We love this question. The QR code that's on your screen currently, I believe, should take you to an application to fill out to enroll in the hub. We also have a website, which I'll put in the chat, where you can read a lot of the same information that we've covered today, but also has a link to that enrollment form. And then I'll also put in the chat our email address. So if you have any questions or any issues as you're trying to get paperwork together to get that enrollment form filled out, you can of course reach out to us directly.
Yeah, then I guess my question would be, so yeah, since we are in a no-cost extension year, which could potentially be our last year of the STEM grant, so like is eligibility contingent on having an S-STEM grant, or what happens the following year? Seeing shaking heads no.
Sorry, I get pasting things in the chat, so I apologize if my body language was inappropriate in that moment. We certainly understand that folks are in different places in their S-STEM grant, and we are really excited to work with folks that are involved in the S-STEM program because they have that specific focus on supporting students from low-income backgrounds and STEM students in particular. And so even if your grant comes to an end, we know that you're continuing to support STEM students, and those are the folks we really want to be engaged with. So there is absolutely nothing that would preclude you from continuing to be involved in the hub or continuing to partner with us on research projects just because your S-STEM monies are running out. We know that the work of supporting STEM students is continuing beyond that. So it is absolutely not a preventative factor that your grant may not last the full length of our hub grant.
Okay, that's good to know.